So to hear this is so critical. And it's contradictory because once children say they are the opposite sex, then adults lead them to gender affirmation, okay? To concretizing that cross-sex identity and medicalizing it, okay? But if you're going to call it a religion, if you're going to call it a belief system, whatever you call it, the sacred core is children must lead.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. And we have unfortunate, uninteresting story today that has more to do with kind of like the regrets of, a mother or mothers letting their son transition, which she has these regrets. We're going to regret to the end of this. So let's go. Mother regrets letting son transition, calls trans ideology a cult. She said her own challenges as a lesbian influenced the decision to allow her son to undergo gender identity conversion. Rose, a twin used to maintain the woman's anonymity, and her wife raised both their sons as gender neutral. But when the 4-year-old said he felt like a girl, she pushed him into a female identity. Where you are in this belief system, you truly believe in this existence of an innate transgender identity, she said during a February 5th interview on the Trigonometry podcast. Now, guys, a lot of this has to do with emotion and stuff like that. This whole story is mostly based off of emotion and stuff like that. Now, I'm not talking about like the way she feels after the fact of the emotional fact or whatever, because that's not what I'm talking about here. Because obviously, after the fact and stuff like that, you're going to be emotional. I think anybody is going to be emotional at that point in stage. But the thing is, this whole story and all of the decisions that she makes have been purely emotional. And let me make this clear. I think a lot of women in today's society, and that are mostly on the Democrat, because 68 to 70%, around 70% of the women vote Democratic. And this is usually due to Democrats tugging on the heartstrings of emotion, and which is just why there seems to be a bit less guys going on the Democratic side, because guys don't usually go off of emotion, but women do. And the reason why women will vote Democrat is because of emotion and stuff like that. And I think it's not till way, 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 way later in life, where essentially all the damage is done, where they start voting for, non-democratic stuff. I think there's also reasons why they would vote for Democratic stuff as well, because Democrats kind of give free handouts and stuff like that, and women tend to want free handouts and all that stuff. So there's that as well. Men do it too, but obviously it's more catered to women. And this is what I kind of want to put this out to you. And the reason why I'll mostly be directly to women, mostly throughout this video, is because what I want to do is somehow, in some godforsaken way, is that I want to take some of the women that believe in this democratic ideology, or rather this emotional base, and maybe somehow make them go from a democratic side, from a side of things, and maybe more independent or Republican or what have you, or maybe just completely just further away from the whole transition stuff. Because if we can do that, then I think it's going to be better for not just women in general, but with kids as well. So that's kind of like where my goal is for this as we go through this. As I say, this is more of an emotional based type of thing where she goes through all this, where all of these are based off of emotion. So we'll go through this. For us, it was almost like if we can be gender neutral. If we can be more open and flexible, we could maybe avoid a transgender child ever having gender dysphoria. She explained. That's kind of where we're coming from. Was really wanting to not do harm to my child. Again, more of a motion-based thing here. So obviously, not wanting to do harm to their child or what have you. She's added it's kind of the opposite of what many of us now see as something that does do harm. On average, 2% of the global population now identify as transgender. The countries with the highest number of individuals who identify as transgender are Germany and Sweden, 30% in each country. Among U.S. youth, 1.8% identify as transgender. Rose's interview comes as multiple states are pursuing legislation to criminalize transgender surgeries for adolescents as transgender issues escalate the U.S.'s culture war. Schools are even debating whether to tell parents that their child is identifies as transgender. In a Substack column posted in August 2022, Rose said that her own identity as a lesbian influenced her decision to validate her son's change in identity. Here's one of the biggest ones right here, guys. That her own identity as a lesbian influenced her decision to validate her son's change in identity. And this is an emotion-based type of thing. You can't just go off of going off like, oh, well, I've been my own thing, the way I feel about my own lesbian stuff will make me try to validate her own gender identity. No, that's not how this works. You go off an emotion and you were paying the consequences. Now, unfortunately for this woman, her emotional consequences, her emotional decision led to pretty much the destruction of her child. Now, here we go we don't actually see her talk about her child and what all of her child went through. Just kind of the things that she's seen her child go through and, kind of explains it, but does not go completely in depth of what they did or how it transitioned and stuff like that. It was all of this. Because of my own experience of perceived victimhood with my own parents, rejection of my sexuality, I wanted to make sure I would honor my child's authentic selves. Again, more of an emotion-based thing. This is not okay. We raised both our sons as gender neutral as possible, with gender neutral clothes, toys, and language. While we did use he, him pronouns, and others in their life called them boys, we did not call them boys or even tell them that they were boys, she explained. We made all language gender neutral in everyday reading of books or descriptions of people in our lives. We did not say man or woman, we said people. We thought we were doing the right thing and best thing both for them and for the world. Again, more emotional based stuff. This is not good because you're making emotion dictate your decisions, which is not good. And here's the thing, guys. The video will actually explain a little bit more as I may post a clip here and there of some of the things that she said. So you'll see here some clips here and there throughout this video a little bit that kind of shows what she's saying. The issues that we see here is that women have to go off of the emotion way too much, and because of this, children are suffering in this instance, and our society suffering in this because we have to go off of base of emotion. Now, I understand that not all women go off of emotion, and not all women have to, are exactly the same. And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the majority that you do. This is the reason why. If some of the women that are going to be on that side are going to say, "Oh, well, you're always basing one people on a particular thing." No. Not everybody is full on everything. Not everybody is this or that. It's almost practically impossible to be full on everything. The thing that is an actual reality is insanity. So that's the reason why I always use, majority of the time, I say most. Because that means a majority, but not all. And this is the reason why I'm trying to be very specific with my words here. She also expressed a deep amount of regret for allowing her son to undergo this process. I am no longer a true believer, she stated. This experience for me has felt like leaving a cult that would have me sacrifice my child to the gods of the gender ideology, the name of social justice and collective liberation. I have left this cult, and I'm never turning back. When I look back at this, it is almost too much to write about. The grief and the shock of what we did is so deep, so wide, so sharp, and penetrating, she wrote. How could a mother do this to her child, to her children? I truly believe that what I was doing was pure, right, and good, only later to realize with horror what it could have led to for my child. This horror still shakes me to my core. Rose now says she fears for her culture with sensitive feminine boys who spent their early years believing they were girls. She also expressed fear in the power of the state, which she says is seeking to destroy the parental-child relationship. Which I agree, and she's not wrong. I do believe it's also a cult. Because we go look at the transgender people or transgender activists where they went to go protest the Oklahoma for the transgender rights for kids specifically not wanting to, for the Oklahoma law to not allow doctors to medically and hormonally change these kids, their ideology or what have you. They're just trying to stop all procedures. Now, maybe they may be going too far with the 18. Personally, I believe 25 25 is around the good age. They made it 26, but either way, they were talking about trans lives matter when it wasn't affecting any of their lives, for that matter. It was just waiting for kids to grow up, and make the decision themselves. And they don't care. They just wanted to do it to kids for whatever God apparent reason. Some of us think it's some other nefarious reasons, obviously. But that being said, they were shouting trans lives matter, but again, it had nothing to do, it had no damage on where adults can't choose to be a kid or can't choose to transition. It allows all people that are all adults, essentially, well, past the age of 25, to make that decision. Once you are 25, you can easily make that decision. Now, it could be lowered or negotiated or what have you. I could believe that. But it allows a kid to grow up. And they're just saying trans lives matter, which is not the point of the actual bill. It's not preventing it entirely for trans people to transition. It's just preventing kids to transition. And here's where I'm going with this, ladies. A lot of you, as I mentioned before, are going with the whole transgender, or the whole, not transgender, but the Democratic side, because it tugs at your heartstrings. It's more of an emotional response. And a lot of you women are do not like feminine men. And when all this happens, when you find a lot more feminine men, you're not going to be attracted to them. You never are. You may say that you are, but in all reality, you don't, because you end up leaving them later on. This is just obvious fact. Now, not all of you do, obviously. So, but it's most. And you look up to men for being a leader, and that's just the way it is. And you go based off of everything off of emotion, and we can't do that in today's society. Maybe I might be able to convince some of you, or maybe shift you guys a little bit off to maybe the middle ground, maybe at the very least away from the transgender ideology, and maybe and what have you, and maybe be an independent, maybe a Republican. I don't care which side you really are on in the terms of where you land, but I want you to drift away from this Democratic ideology to where I honestly believe it's harming you, and it's harming children in the process. I don't think the Democratic ideology is really helping women in the long run. Because go look at this, ladies. Democratic ladies. Go look at this and see what's happening to you in your schools. I'll give you all the information. You can even email me. jmreports0@gmail.com. Email me and I'll give you all the information that you need to show you that what's happening to your locker rooms, to your privacy, and all that stuff. And you'll see that all your sports are being eroded away. Your privacy is being eroded away. Your own gender, obviously your own sex, is honestly in a crossroads as well, where mostly women are affected by this gender ideology stuff. So you're also being affected. So it's the Democratic ideology is harming you. It is not harming men as badly. It's still harming men, obviously, but not as badly. You are at the brunt of it. You are facing it. And maybe if I can shift you guys a little bit away, we might be able to fix this country. We might be able to save women from whatever the hell they're doing that are causing these issues. So yeah, that's what I believe. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care. And we'll also have a bit of those clips at the very end of this, by the way.
A second later, I'm on my phone, I'm texting a friend, I'm like, we've realized that our older son is not actually transgender. We're going to be rolling back the social transition. And I feel like I am leaving a cult. Because that's what it felt like to me. He said to me, Mama, this is your fault. You changed my name. So imagine had we not realized our mistake, and you go 10, 20 years into the future. Imagine that, Mama, this was your fault then.